Welcome everybody to Andre's Basketball World's channel. And today I decided to go ahead and give out the truth behind the James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant's Oklahoma City Thunder team. Of course, make sure you hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Share this everywhere because this is the truth. This is coming from an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, a major fan. I've been a fan of Oklahoma City Thunder since about 2009, 8, 9, or something around that range, 8 or 9. It was one of them times I saw the Lakers play against them in the regular season, and I didn't know Oklahoma City had a basketball team. So of course, doing all my knowledge and research and stuff like that, found out about it. I was like, okay, Oklahoma, we got a basketball team. Okay, man, it's about an NBA basketball team. I'm supporting. Of course, I got to support. That's my team. Since then, I've watched every single player. I watched them grow up. I watched them from their pros, their cons, and the now I watch everything. And I know it's been a couple years since I actually go back and watch those games. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. I think it was last year. I'm pretty sure it was last year. Last year I watched it was the Oklahoma City Thunder going against the Lakers in a regular season game where our team, we just showed out just to showcase the potential what we did have with that team. But don't think I'm just making this out of left field. I only make this video because of a couple things. One, the Kevin Durant situation. I mean, not situation, but whatever Kevin Durant comments on him having a statue in a city, Oklahoma City Thunder. We have to do our part. When he retired, that man deserve a statue outside. That's come on now, don't do that. And then Harden recently, my recently is probably my for me. My recently is like last week. Y'all recently is probably about a month or so ago, a couple weeks ago. But that's just how my brain works at times. And Harden was on a podcast, and they asked Harden about the whole getting traded for the Thunder thing and what happened in that situation. Now, granted, from what I understand throughout history, especially when it comes to NBA players, what they tend to do, they tend to when, especially if their career doesn't go a certain way, whether that's not reaching the NBA Finals, whether that's not winning a championship at any point in time, anything like that, NBA players, they tend to jump on these podcasts or interviews and they explain the situation from their side of the point. And us as fans, we're supposed to take it like, yeah, okay, okay, okay. And this time it kind of bothered me. Usually this stuff don't bother me. For me, for a long time, and I'm still like this. I'm still like this for a very long time. I always believe that we still made the right decision to go ahead and trade James Harden. You can't convince me otherwise. A lot of people say, "Oh, y'all could have created a dynasty. Y'all could have won about 3 or 4." No, we can't. No, we can't. We had a short window. Our window was potentially 2 championships, and that's it. 2 championships. That's it. That's all we have potential for. 2 championships. And I know some of y'all thinking like, that's it. You don't think more? No, because of the way the team played, the way the team was set up. That's why. So when James Harden was talking about it, James Harden said that it was over $4 million. Now this is around 2012. So this is the 2012 off season. And a lot of y'all think like $4 million. That's it. You got to remember that back then the salary cap and stuff, $4 million wasn't. I mean, some $4 million was a lot compared to what it is nowadays. Nowadays, that's $5 million. That's whatever. That's a rookie contract. You know, that's whatever. That's nothing nowadays. Back then, that was a lot. But Harden was saying it was over $4 million and that he had to think about it, and that's his side. Kendrick Perkins, he talked about this a few years ago. He was saying that the whole idea was for every player on that team, the big players, to take a pay cut. That way they can keep the core together. That's what Kendrick Perkins has said. He said it before. I haven't heard nothing from KD bringing about. I think Kevin Durant, I think he said was that he wasn't all in the front office like he should have been, which I understand. 22, 23 years old, KD trying to demand anything for being in that franchise for just a few seasons at that time period. He probably didn't think he had the leverage to do that. Understandable. Have not heard anything from Westbrook. I don't think Westbrook is going to be a very interesting guy to listen to if he ever do any interviews or any podcasts. It's going to be very interesting to see him do that. I don't think Westbrook will, but we say that, but then he could like pop up on a podcast and discuss everything that happens or whatever. So when that was said, and then Harden said this, I'm thinking, why you just didn't take the money that was less than four? I mean, that was less than the four. I mean, what the $4 million? That was the you said that was the big thing. Why didn't you just take it? That's my question. Why didn't you just take it? If you felt like the team was a championship team and that y'all could have won a championship sooner rather than later, that $4 million would have been washed underneath the table by the time your next contract comes around. Y'all remember, players when they get drafted into the NBA, first round picks, they are on a 4-year contract. 2 years are guaranteed, and the other 2 years are pretty much team options. So you have 4-year team protection. Usually around the third year, which would have been the year that James Harden, he was in year 3 before he goes to year 4, they would have offered him a different kind. They would have added, okay, now let's sign for this much, and then you get X amount of money, which let players end up staying for 7, 8, 9 seasons with one NBA team. That's how it's been. So the fact that Harden just got done becoming Sixth Man of the Year, we just reached the NBA Finals, and we took one game. We took one game off of that Heat. I felt like we was right there knocking on the door. So the fact that he was like, at $4 million, I was like, man, Harden, you could have really, if it was really about winning, you could have taken that pay cut. Same with anybody else on that team, they could have taken the pay cut. Now, honestly, this is my honest opinion. My honest opinion was we had a 2-year window to win a championship. That 2-year window was 2014 and 2016. That was the only 2 years I see us winning a championship. Why? So after 2012, you had 2013 roll around. In 2013, we kept rolling, right? We rolled, we went to the playoffs again. We got to remember, in the first round, Westbrook, we played against the Houston Rockets. Patrick Beverley clipped Westbrook's knees by the scorer's table, and he was injured, and he was out for the rest of the playoffs. Now, granted, James Harden was on the Houston Rockets team, so we have to assume that doesn't happen again. But at the same time, we don't know if Houston would have been in that situation. We don't know if somebody would have joined the Houston Rockets. Because that James Harden trade, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Martin was part of that trade. I think Jeremy Lamb was part of that trade, and I feel like it was Steven Adams that was part of that trade, or the pick for Steven Adams was part of that trade. So let's say that year that Houston Rockets still made the playoffs that year. What if they still made the playoffs that year? And that incident still happened that Patrick Beverley clipped Westbrook's knees and Westbrook is out for the rest of the playoffs. So now it's just Harden and KD. And at that time period with Harden and KD, yeah, that could have worked. At the same time, Harden hasn't really exploded yet onto the scene. Not only that, but in the next round, we played the Grit and Grind Grizzlies, which we ended up losing. So I had to assume here in the same situation, even if we did get past the Houston in that first. Oh no, that's 2013. Yeah. I'm right. We played against we played the Memphis Grizzlies in the second round, and we ended up losing against them. I think that would still be the case. I don't think we had a real chance in 2013 because of Westbrook's injury. I had to assume that happens again. A lot of people just kind of brushed that underneath the rug, but I'm assuming the Houston Rockets will still make the playoffs. Maybe they made a different trade and they still get somebody else, and they are enough to make the playoffs, and we still be an AC versus us as a first seed. That still potentially happen, leading to us losing in the second round anyway against the Grit and Grind Grizzlies. Next year, 2014 is one of the years I'm talking about. 2014, I think, with the development of Westbrook coming back fully healthy, James Harden coming back. Westbrook being there for half the season because of his injury problems with his knees. James Harden getting a full season underneath his belt when she get to develop while Westbrook has been in and out of the lineup. And then Kevin Durant had his MVP season. You have Serge Ibaka stretching the floor out more often. So you had a more legit team, a more great team, along with Reggie Jackson coming off the bench, and he started stepping up, becoming a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. That team is more well-rounded, in my personal opinion, to compete against. Let's be honest, we're just competing against the Spurs. The Spurs were our biggest problem. To compete against that Spurs team, who's had ball movement of the gods. But as you all know, we always go to game. We always used to go 6 games against the Spurs, no matter what happens. I have to assume we do that again. But at the same time, Serge Ibaka also suffered an injury. Serge Ibaka also had an injury in the playoffs himself too, which he ended up missing the first 2 games against the Spurs, and then we came back, and then we went to 6 games against the Spurs. Here, I'm assuming, that fully healthy Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant in game 3 through 6 for Serge Ibaka, I'll assume that would be more than enough to beat the Spurs. And then in the NBA Finals, we go against the 2014 Heat, Dwayne Wade's injuries, Chris Bosh's injuries, and then it's just LeBron James and people. We can beat that team. We can beat that version of the Heat, in my personal opinion. So we win 20. I think we win 2014. 2015 might be a lost season. Westbrook get hurts. Kevin Durant goes down with an injury. Serge Ibaka missed some times. We had a lot of players in and out of the lineup that missed a lot of time in throughout that whole season, to where we had people I ain't never heard of was joining our team to play. But when Westbrook was fully healthy and good to go, he put up 28 points a game, leading the NBA in scoring. Next to James Harden, who I don't think he had any injury problems that year, and that year was one of his best years where he was MVP candidate. Now we have 2 of these guys running the team. That that right there can get us into the playoffs. We're not gonna go far in the playoffs, but that would be enough to get us into the playoffs because Kevin Durant still missed so much time. So, right, I don't think we go too far in 2015. We lose this, whatever. 2016, fully healthy team. Everybody's good to go. Pretty much a lot of contracts are coming up. Durant's contract is up. Eventually, Westbrook's and James Harden's contract is up. This is good to go unless they re-sign because we got a championship. 2016 would also be a big question mark, just considering how the NBA is and going against that Warriors team. We didn't have no problems against Dallas or the Warriors. We only had problems against we'll have that Warriors team. So that Warriors team, that 73-9 Warriors team, where we was up 3-1. With Harden, I think we close out. We have to remind ourselves this is be a different version of Harden. This is not a Harden who is the main offense. He is the second, sometimes third option for this team playing basketball. If that's the case, I think we can win 2016. After that, question marks throughout the rest of the career. So my personal opinion, we only had a 2-window opening. Now, if you want to say 2013 was still the opening, let's if you say Houston doesn't make the playoffs no matter what, okay. So we just have to assume Westbrook doesn't get hurt, and then we still run up against the Spurs again. We can run and go back and forth, but I think going to the finals, I think no matter who was going to win, I think the Heat was just destined to win the 2013 finals. I think that's just what it was going to be. I think the Heat was going to win no matter what. Then we play against the Heat again in 2014, and we can beat that Heat team. We can definitely beat that Heat team by the end. And then after that, 15, Durant's injury. 16, fully healthy again, another run at the championship. My personal opinion. So my personal opinion, the truth behind everything, we had a minimal of 1 championship and a max of 2 championships, including some injuries to certain players here and there. I also had to think. I also had to remind myself that we did have Cephaloshes that was starting as a defensive player. Whether or not Harden or Westbrook gets better at defense without Cephaloshes in the lineup, or do we go so early into a quote unquote small ball where Durant's playing a 4 and Ibaka's playing a 5, and we have Cephaloshes at the 3? So Westbrook, Harden, Cephaloshes, Kevin Durant, and Ibaka as the starting 5 lineup, and we run that out at the end of games and stuff like that. That way we can get the very best of our players. We can technically stretch the floor out with 4 people out on the premium. Do we start that up before the Warriors start doing it? Potentially. And then the bench players, the Reggie Jackson, the Nick Collisons, do we still end up getting Jeremy Lamb? Does Steven Adams even come to the team at any point in time? Do we get the role players that we end up getting when we still have Harden or not? That's the question I'm wondering too, because I think once we traded Harden, we was expecting other players to step up. This allows Serge Ibaka to step up to start averaging double-digit points instead. Start adding more double-digit points and stressing the floor out to the mid-range and to the three-point line too is what Ibaka started doing. Not only that, having Kevin Martin there that year, having Jeremy Lamb that year, having Cephaloshes still, having Reggie Jackson continue to get better as a player. I think I, it's back and forth. If they stay together, we won a championship. I won't have to complain because I wouldn't care because I'm like, yeah, we got championships. We got a championship. I wouldn't care. But I think him reflecting means he felt like he probably making a mistake. He's not the first player that's done. He's not the first player that's done that. You know what I'm saying? We heard about it when Tracy McGrady found out. I mean, Tracy McGrady saying he felt like he should have stayed with Vince Carter. Found out whenever Tracy's face when he found out that Tim Duncan was supposed to join the Orlando Magic. And the face he had on that, he was like, "What? We could have had him. Like, what the crap?" Because they could have ran the East for a little bit. Man, it's several what else, man. But like I said, my personal case for the Thunder's big three, our potential was legitimately one championship, potentially two, and that's it. That's pretty much it. But that's my personal opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think and like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time, man.